Hello everyone. In continuation to the pollination series, in this episode we are going to see how the hand pollination takes place. But just a quick recap. What we saw in the last episode about self-pollination and cross-pollination. What are the self-pollination flowers and how that pollination takes place? For example, in a flower, what are the male part and the female part that helps a flower to get pollinate and how the vegetables are produced? In the same way, in a cross-pollination, you need a pollinator like bees, wasp, hoverfly or flies, any other pollinators which helps the flowers to get pollinate and to produce the fruits or vegetables. But hand pollination is slightly different and you are the pollinators and you can help the flowers to get pollinate. And in this video, we wanted to show you the hand pollination in both self-pollinating and cross-pollinating flowers. Let's take a look at this flower. This is a type of a gourd vegetable which is very hairy in nature. So in that time it's called fuzzy hairy gourd. So take off the petals from the male flower and gently rub it on the female flower parts, and you can clearly see the pollen from the male flower as transferred to the female flower now. And you can repeat that process just to make sure the pollens are in contact with the female flower. And another interesting fact about this particular vegetable is when it is young, when it is growing in the first week, you can see the hairy texture on this vegetable and it can be used as a hairy gourd. If you leave this over a week and a couple of weeks later, the hairy texture on the vegetable will change and then it will change to a winter melon. So you can see in this flower how the pollens are covered from the male flower and how it transferred to the female flower through the hand pollination. So this is one of the successful method of doing hand pollination. This flower belongs to another gourd vegetable which is called long bottle gourd. The process is very similar. You can define which is a male flower and a female flower. The female flower will have the miniature vegetable behind the flower like what you see in this video. So the process is very similar to what we have seen before. Identify and take the male flower from your plant and gently remove the petals around the middle part of the flower, and you can clearly see how the pollens were surrounded in the middle of this male flower. So once you remove the petals from this male flower, you can repeat the process what we saw before. So these pollens has to get transferred to the female part of the flower so that the pollination can take place. Here is the closer look of the pollen which helps the female flower to get pollinate. So this is the female flower of the long bottle gourd. And as I said before, gently apply the male part of the pollens to get transferred to the female part and rub it around the female part of the flower so that the pollens are transferred from the male flower, and gently tap it and leave it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show one self-pollinating vegetable in this video, and that vegetable is corn. Corn has the most interesting pollinating technique among the self-pollinating vegetables like tomato, chili, eggplants and several other vegetables. What you see here, this is called tassel, and the small hanging purple things are the pollens. With the help of wind, the pollens from tassel will fall and contacts the female part of the vegetable. Let's take a closer look of these pollens which falls from tassel, because this plays a very important role in corn pollination. The stem of this plant is called stack, which has multiple nodes. In each node, you can expect a corn vegetable to come, but to produce a healthy vegetable, it has to get in contact with the pollens. These are the silky hair texture, which is nothing but the silks that connects to the kernel, which is nothing but the fruit inside the corn, and it is covered by layer called husk. To produce a healthy vegetable, every silk thread what you see here, it connects to the kernel of the fruit. Like any other vegetables and plants, in corn it's even more important because each silk has to get in contact with pollen, and it helps the kernel inside the vegetable to produce a healthy fruit for us. So what you see here, this is nothing but after the wind, the pollen from the tassel falls into the silk. Silk is nothing but a stigma of the female part of the plant or the flower that we have already seen in our previous video. In the absence of successful pollination, you can execute the hand pollination in the following method. Gently pluck the tassel from the plant, the one which is healthy, which has lot of pollens. Take that and apply it over the silk and tap it around the silk so that the pollens from the tassel are in contact with the silk, and try to cover around the silk everywhere in every thread so that the connect between the silk and the kernel in the fruit are really healthy. And there are several ways of doing hand pollination. You can gently tap the stem that connects to the flowers, and some people use a vibrating brush or buds or brushes to transfer the pollen from the male plant to the female plant. The hairy gourd which we pollinated few days ago was a success, and we saw the vegetable growing bigger and bigger every day. I think this is the second day after we pollinated, and around the fifth day when we saw the size of the vegetable was even bigger. I hope you like this video, and in the next video we are going to share more about the fall gardening. What are the vegetables that you can start planting and where to buy these seeds? Talk to you all soon. Thank you.